Good morning, good afternoon everyone. My name is Lorenzo and I'm based at the Regional Office for Western Central Africa of UN Women, where I am Innovation Project Specialist. And I'm here today with Simon Schwall, CEO of OCO, and we're very glad to welcome you all to this session where we will be discussing together the financial inclusion needs of women smallholder farmers in the Sahel, as well as some gender transformative innovations and approaches that we have been piloting together to strengthen the financial inclusion and the resilience of women smallholders in the Sahel. In the Western Central Africa region, we've been recently witnessing a surge in the use of mobile phone, mobile wallets, and of smartphone penetration, including among women, despite some persistent gender gaps. But we've also been witnessing an increasingly dynamic fintech sector and digital ecosystem. It has been shown, particularly through the example of M-Pesa in Kenya, that mobile money can have significant impact on reducing poverty, and that this impact can be significantly more important for women. So digital technology really have a huge potential to reduce gender gaps when it comes to financial inclusion, but also to facilitate the access of women, particularly rural women, to markets and to education opportunities. But to ensure that these opportunities will actually materialize, we must first ensure that women, and particularly rural women who often face a double discrimination, are equipped and also supported to overcome the barriers that they face in this digital transition. And we must also ensure that these new technologies and services that are actually designed and deployed with a gender lens. Because if this is not the case, they can actually produce the opposite effect and actually increase existing gender inequalities. At UN Women, through our past and ongoing interventions in the West and Central Africa region, we've been able to highlight a number of key outstanding bottlenecks and barriers to the financial inclusion of rural women. These are in the areas of financial and digital education and literacy, barriers linked to persisting discriminatory cultural and social norms, and also structural barriers limiting the access to financial and digital infrastructure and technology. There is an urgent need, therefore, to address these barriers that rural women are facing to access the financial inclusion, and this must be done by addressing the supply side of technology and financial services, but also by fostering the demand side, for instance through awareness raising and capacity building among women, but also by ensuring that the services offered are sufficiently affordable for the women. There is also a need to develop an enabling ecosystem. In particular, governments can contribute to address these bottlenecks by building the infrastructure that is needed to support mobile connectivity, but also by adopting policies that facilitate the deployment of digital technologies and innovative financial services, including, for example, policies that facilitate competition in the market, or policies that favor the deployment of e-commerce platform, or that facilitate the use of mobile technologies, or even that make financial services more affordable, for example, through targeted subsidies. In addition, it is really critical to adopt a gender lens in the development of these sectoral policies. But also, on the other hand, it is important to ensure that the gender impacts of digital technology are recognized, leveraged and integrated in the national gender and women's economic empowerment strategies, like it was recently done by the government of Senegal with the support of UN Women. So going forward, it will be crucial for both the public and private sector to really understand the specific needs and constraints that are faced by rural women, but also to be able to develop new financial services that are actually tailored to the specific needs and constraints. We believe that this will be facilitated by innovative business models and partnerships between the international cooperation, the private sector, and the public sector, where each institution will bring its expertise and its value proposition. This is exactly what we are doing at UN Women in West and Central Africa, where we are exploring innovative partnerships and business models with the private sector, from telecom operators to fintechs, and we are working together to promote the financial inclusion of rural women by developing services and products that are tailored to their needs. With the support of the government of Canada, Denmark, Sweden, Luxembourg, as well as the African Development Bank, BNP Paribas, Standard Bank, Orange Foundation, and the Alibaba Foundation, we are actually piloting the deployment of a mobile platform that provides a one-stop shop for women smallholder farmers and better connect them to financial services, but also to markets and learning opportunities through e-commerce and e-learning. And with the support of Innovation Norway, in partnership with our sister agency UNCDF, the United Nations Capital Development Framework, we have been working with the private sector to identify and co-develop innovations and digital solutions that allow women farmers in Senegal and in Mali to better access microinsurance and other disaster risk transfer mechanisms. In order to overcome the bottlenecks that prevent the financial inclusion of rural women, key aspects of this initiative have been an extensive research involving a thorough assessment of the needs and the ecosystem, but also the development of innovative partnership models with the private sector to ensure that a gender lens could be applied to strengthen the demand, the supply, and also the delivery of these financial services to rural women. Today, we would like to give you an overview of these results that were obtained through this initiative in Mali, particularly in the regions of Koulikoro, Ségou, and Sikasso, where UN Women and UNCDF have been working together with microinsurance provider OCO to adopt a gender lens in the development of new products and services, and to ultimately strengthen the resilience of women farmers to climate change and natural disasters. This partnership was informed by the key findings from the research phase of the project, which highlighted that women smallholders in Mali face recurrent and increasing income losses, mostly due to adverse impacts of climate change, particularly drought and floods. But the research also highlighted that while a few disaster insurance products already exist in Mali, these generally fail to address the specific needs and the constraints that are faced by women. And that's why, to better protect women smallholders in Mali against drought and flood risks, UN Women and UNCDF sought to work with OCO to integrate a gender lens in their existing disaster microinsurance services. So this was done through several different approaches, for instance, by developing new crop insurance products for women-dominated value chains, but also new bundled products to facilitate the access of women to both credit and insurance, but also by strengthening the knowledge of women farmers around insurance, by tailoring the delivery and distribution model of the microinsurance provider to the women's needs, and by better balancing its workforce among women and men. And finally, by introducing a gender lens in the training of its microinsurance agents to ensure that these have a better understanding of the specific needs that the women farmers face. And while this is just an overview of what we sought to do through this project, I'm now delighted to give the floor to Simon Schwal, CEO of OCO, who will provide us with more details about the best practices that were developed through this project, as well as the impact that it has already had on the women smallholder farmers in Mali. So, dear Simon, over to you.
Hello, my name is Simon Schwal and I'm the CEO of OCO. Lorenzo presented you the idea of the collaboration between OCO and UN Women UNCDF, and I'm going to go more into details in what our project entailed and what were the results and lessons learned. A few words first about OCO and the project. So who is OCO? OCO is an impact-focused fintech startup providing automated insurance to smallholder farmers in Africa. We have presence in Mali, in Uganda, and in Ivory Coast, and we provide automated crop insurance based on satellite weather data, meaning that as soon as we identify that in a specific area there was insufficient or excessive rainfall, farmers who are registered in this area receive a compensation. OCO is universally accessible, meaning that you don't need to have an internet connection to register for OCO, you don't need a smartphone, you don't need a bank account. Everything can be done from a very simple feature phone. We're covering two risks, the risks of droughts and floods, and in 2021, when we started this collaboration, OCO had 10,000 paying customers in Mali. of which only 18% were women. And that's the problem that we wanted to fix together with UN Women. The collaboration with UN Women is about bridging the gender gap in access to crop insurance. And the approach revolved around 4 main points. First, creating a dedicated team of women agents to serve women farmers. Second, create an additional product that is more suitable for women. Third, create partnerships with microfinance organizations. And 4, introduce a gender lens in our training material for our OCO agents. The objectives were to reach about 1,500 women educated about insurance, meaning they have registered and received a personalized quote for insurance, and having 1,101 additional women insured for this 2022 season. I'm going to jump straight to the achievements, what has been achieved through this project. So first, we completed a survey to confirm the hypothesis that we had. So you can see on this slide that we identified peanut as the most commonly grown crop by women interrogated in the area where the survey was conducted. A lot of other crops that were quoted by the farmers were already covered by OCO, such as sesame, maize, millet, sorghum. So we focused on peanut as the additional product to launch. Second thing that we validated is that women have phones, but many of them don't have a mobile money account, so they could benefit from a training in that regard. Knowledge of crop insurance existed but could be improved, and the survey confirmed that female agents were preferred by female farmers. We created an updated training material that included the gender aspects, and that training is used for sales agents working for OCO. You can see here some of the slides where we focus on the results of the survey, but also we had brainstorms to understand from our agents and from some of our customers what was the best time to address women farmers, what was the most important things for them, so that the approach could be adapted to the gender. Now, one of the most important things was the creation of this women-only sales team. We had the intuition that this would work better because we saw that the few female agents we had were better at selling to women farmers than their male counterparts. And the survey confirmed this hypothesis. So we recruited and trained women to become OCO agents. We equipped them with motorbikes, helmets, so that they could visit different villages and different cooperatives. And the result was quite impressive. If you compare the number of women registered by most teams, it was 17%. The rest, the 83% remaining, are male farmers. But with the only woman team that we created as part of this project, the figures are completely different. 61% of the farmers that they registered are women farmers. So adding this team helped us to increase the number of women farmers in our customer base. I'm saying here that it was challenging. Why? Because Mali is in a difficult security situation today, where many areas are controlled by terrorist groups, but also the culture in the country makes it difficult for women to work far from their husband, far from their village. So recruiting these agents was not an easy task. Finding agents that were willing and authorized by their families to travel was not an easy task. We recruited quite a number of female agents that ended up not being able to work with us. So that's also something that we learned and that we need to take into account, is that there are specific barriers to the kind of work that we can provide for women. So we're going to work on lifting these barriers. The second big project that we had was to create this specific product for peanut. You can see here some of the technical details of the product. It covers the different phases of the season, and it's triggered if the rainfall falls below, the accumulated rainfall for a specific period falls below a specific threshold that has been defined together with agronomists and with cooperatives. The result there is quite logical, given that most women say they were growing peanuts. We can see that 71% of the customers for this product are women. So again, this helped drive the adoption of insurance by women. The final results of these two very important elements are shown on this graph. So you can see that we started without the peanut product. On week 11 it was introduced, and we can already see that the dark green part of each bar is growing, meaning that more women are registered each week. The blue curve shows the overall percentage of women within our customer base. On week 17, the women-only team started working, started going on the field, and you can see that when the two elements are combined, you see a sharp increase in the number of women in our customer base. And you can see that on some weeks, more than 70% of the customers registered were women, like on week 24 here. The last aspect of this project was to bring also access to loans for the farmers who were insured with us. We had discussions with multiple microfinance organizations, but unfortunately quite a slow progress. We agreed with them on the benefits for both the financial institution to have farmers who are insured and less likely to default their loans, and the benefit for farmers who finally access loans more easily and can invest in growing more. We signed agreements with 3 of the microfinance organizations you see on this slide: Baobab, Niesigizo, and Banque Atlantique. Several loan requests were collected by our agents and by our call center and transferred to the relevant microfinance organization. But unfortunately, none of these requests has been approved. No loan was disbursed in 2022. But there is a silver lining. A major partnership was signed now with RMCR, and this will include crop insurance for all of their loan beneficiaries in 2023. So this could be a major development on this front. The lessons learned are that more historical data is required by microfinance organizations in order to commit to lower their interest rates. Without solid data proving that the default rate is decreasing for insured farmers, they are not willing to change their risk calculations. Second, most MFIs, most microfinance institutions, are not digital enough to include index insurance registration in their process. They lack devices, they lack connection, and they lack training to be able to do that. Conclusions and next steps. So the tools that we've put in place are efficient, and it's possible to scale them up to increase our impact. We achieved a significant reduction in the gender gap. We have 21% of our customers in 2022 that are women, versus 16% last year. In terms of insured farmers, so farmers who effectively paid and got insured this season, 25% of our customer base is now made of female farmers versus 18% last year. So it's quite a big increase in just a few months. And this despite the changes that you saw only affecting a small part of our operations. The peanut product is only 3.8% of all policies sold, and the women team is only 1 out of 10 teams, so it's only 10% of all agents. So that's why we think it can be scaled up. What we're going to do is to establish a minimum number of women per sales team. We're going to develop more products for crops traditionally grown by women, such as onions, shallots, shea. And we're going to include this gender responsive training in all our new recruit training. I suggest that we now listen to a few of these women that got insured with OCO this season, and they explain in these videos the reason why they decided to get insured. You can help us increase our impact. We have 3 suggestions here. 1, you can spread the word. You can talk about OCO. You can download our PDF case study that is available online on our website oco.finance and on our OCO LinkedIn page, and share it with people that you think could benefit from it. Second is connecting us. with agro-industries such as the Nestlé's, the Unilever, the Olam of the world, who work with a lot of smallholder farmers and can introduce us to them and give us credibility. With farmers group, big cooperatives, big unions, with NGOs and development organizations, and potentially also with mobile operators who want to add a new financial service to their range of mobile money services. Finally, you can work with us directly if that is relevant. We can work on joint projects to help you achieve your sustainability objectives or your development objectives. We can scale up what we're already doing in Mali or maybe also in Uganda and Ivory Coast. And we can work on bundled distribution, for example, bundling loans with insurance, bundling seeds or fertilizers with insurance. Thank you very much for your attention and for your interest in our work. And you can see here the contact details if you want to be in touch and work with us. Thank you very much, and hopefully see you soon.
Thank you very much, Simon, for illustrating these powerful examples and figures, which are really showing how tailoring agriculture, insurance, offer and distribution models with a gender lens has not only been beneficial for the women farmers in Mali, but also allowed you to significantly increase your reach and to reduce the gender gap among your customers. I think that this is a really powerful example that shows that innovative and gender-sensitive business models in the area of microinsurance can not only improve the financial inclusion and the resilience of rural women, but that they also make sense from a business and an economic point of view. So thank you again, Simon, and thank you everyone for tuning in. We hope that you found this session interesting and that they gave you a better understanding of the financial inclusion needs of rural women in the Sahel, but also of potential opportunities to address these needs through gender transformative approaches and innovation. So thank you very much, goodbye and take care.